Welcome to Dyson Sphere Program.
Now I have your attention.
Thank you. The most beautiful spreadsheet I've ever played. If you like Planetary Annihilation, Factorio, Satisfactory, or any combination of these, I think you'll like it. My brain has not been able to handle things like Factorio. Satisfactory didn't really satisfactorize me as much as I would have liked, but I have in just over a week played over 100 hours, which is a bit much, and I've completed the game, but I'm gonna start again, and I'll explain why. But first, I wanna show just a taste, a teaser of what that looks like. After struggling with my mathematical challenges, to say the least, after multiple planets and star systems and developments, I think I can say I enjoy Dyson Sphere Program up to the Dyson Spheres. I may have technically completed it, all the upgrades and all of that, but there's still many star systems to go. And it is one of the best games out of early access I have ever played. Probably the best early access game I have ever played. So it's like a 9 out of 10, and on the roadmap is the extra 10, or the extra 1, or maybe 10, I don't know. Congratulations, builder of great civilizations, you've completed. You can continue the game.
Congratulations, builder.
After 100 hours of effort, that's enough from me some minutes ago. But, so part of the reason I decided to start a new game is because we're so early in early access, there's a few quality of life features that do not exist yet, are planned, but do not exist, which are copy-paste functions, blueprints, stuff that allows you to scale to, say, an intergalactic level. So it was getting to the point that the amount of physical actions, and as a StarCraft player, puns partially intended, needed to rise to that scale were becoming almost physically impossible for my weak human hands. But it took a long while to get there. This time, I've chosen a not-so-random seed. I've chosen the seed, and some of you may recognize it, 08008135. Not quite random, but close. And we're going to take it from the top. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to try to avoid many of the mistakes that I made in those first 100 hours. I'm not good. I don't plan far ahead. I'm not good at math. This is not your master class or even amateur class, but it's just hopefully learning something and applying it and not taking 100 hours to, quote, complete the game. So, with that.
Welcome to the actual universe. You may find it's different from our homeland. Should you be able to adapt to the laws of physics in a short time, I am your advisor and will help you through this mission. Everything here is yours. As one of Cosmo and the pioneer of the Dyson Sphere Program, you will explore this cluster step by step. By using the resources here to construct the Dyson Sphere to provide energy for the center brain to maintain homeland, starting from scratch. I have chosen a designated planet for you to start the mission, which has necessary resources for initial development. Now please drive the space capsule to the planet.
And just like that. Everyone starts on the same, quote, planet, which is already a bit of a misnomer, because it is technically a moon. Thank you, Boris.
Now Now you are about to reach the designated planet.
We'll hopefully avoid any plagues or anything like that. So the situation is humanity is now virtual. But every once in a while, for those who don't know, this is Factorio 3077. It's actually a sequel. You know, in Factorio, you build a rocket. But unfortunately, the Factorio man, or whatever his name is, came back to Earth, but he went by a black hole, so there was time dilation. Comes back.
Is Icarus.
Everybody's living in a virtual server, and they need power. So now he has to apply those skills in order to save humanity by building the Dyson Sphere. That is canon and the lore that I just made up. So, welcome to Factorio 3077. Let's right click to get rid of this.
The same operation to collect resources, such as trees, gravel, etc. In the meantime, hold down Shift and right click to give a series of commands.
A few settings things before we get started. The first thing is building view mode, God mode. It is not really so much a God mode as a free look mode, but you'll notice that the translations since it is developed by a 5-person Chinese development team, the translations are not perfect, but they are amusing. So God mode is more like free look. It doesn't give you any special powers, just makes it a little easier to build things on a grid. Otherwise, key bindings are not yet customizable. That's one of the quality of life things I was mentioning about the first playthrough. But they're not too bad to start. And most of the stuff is done with your mouse and like the shift key. Otherwise, turning off anti-aliasing, actually I think makes it look better, but I'm probably wrong about that. And atmospheric blur just kind of makes things look blurry, which no need. It's very clear what's the atmosphere and not. It's, well, especially when you turn off the blur.
Receive several items after recycling the space capsule. Click the inventory button in the lower
You can just
right
drag
corner
and
of the
drop,
screen to
drag
open the
and
cabin to
drop
view
your
them.
docks. It's nice to have hydrogen fuel rods early, but starting out, I actually just have to chop down some trees for power. Shift clicking them in. I'm not going to waste my fuel rods yet. The background, the virtual world,
You can
as we
hold
said,
down mouse
Factorio
wheel
man.
button drag to rotate the angle of view, or slide the mouse wheel to zoom in
The
and out.
tutorial does a pretty good job. Like, it seems like it's holding your hand, but there's really not that much to it. Builders of great civilizations. If only I could. A Dyson Sphere. Mr. Freeman Dyson put forward a legendary concept, the Dyson Sphere theory. Imaginary space giant, well, for now, to become a third-level Kardashev civilization. And then gathering resources is you move around just like a unit in StarCraft. Thank you. Alright.
Yet you have not unlocked the construction menu, which will be done automatically when completing any technology research.
I'm working on it.
Click the technology tree button at the bottom right of the screen to open the technology tree and activate a research.
Well, let's activate electromagnetism, which is still going to require a little bit of work. Oh yeah, that's a good pro tip in the chat. Oh, I'm so used to having more power. It feels out like... early on, it feels like you're very slow. And that's because you are. But it doesn't last long, especially if you're smart about it. I'm going to go harvest some coal here, as was the pro tip from Twitch chat. Because whatever fuel you're using gives you more power for Mecha / Icarus. Why can't I talk now? I forgot how to talk. And the higher level of fuel gives you more power. And that power is used for a lot of different stuff as time goes on. So it seems like we're just sitting here mining minerals like a good old-fashioned SCV. And we are. And that's what's happening. And that's going to continue for many hours. But we're going to do it in new and exciting ways. So, I'm going to move the replicator over. And right now, I could have sat there and mined more, but we want to automate as quickly as possible. So, using the technology menu, I need 10 magnets. Magnets require in the components iron bars, and magnets. Oh, these are magnetic coils. I call these mag rings because it gets a little confusing. So, magnets are iron ore directly into mag rings, which become magnetic coils, which I think of more like magnets. So if you're confused, that's because I confused you. Sorry for that. But that's kind of what I've... Just like... and also the names have already changed a few times with translations to become more or less accurate, but I'm already using certain names. Like, for example, the circuit board, I just call them green chips. I think that's a Factorio thing. There we go. We got the research. It's not going to be that easy as time goes on. But
you have created a mining machine to achieve ore collecting automation. Pick it up from the inventory, or select it on Gathering of Construction menu to build it.
I'm pretty sure, by the way, the tutorial helper is just like one of the more advanced text-to-speeches and not a voice actor, based on the fact that the translations have already changed. It's like, oh my god, the crazy technology as we build a Dyson Sphere, by the way. So, let's get some mineral miners. So here's a little bit of math. I wrote down a little bit of stuff beforehand. I'm actually going to go over it now. I should have written down more, but I know this is a lot now. But first is God mode, which we already went over. Sticky construction assist is not relevant yet, but I'll show it once we start building multiple buildings. And a big one even early on is building along the latitude lines, or the flatitude lines of the planet, which is horizontal as opposed to vertical, because that is what the grid is aligned to. It makes it a lot easier. And then the first priorities, and this is a long way out, are going to be automating one or two of some of the basic buildings, but obviously you start by mining the minerals.
You can use the R key to rotate the mining machine for covering more veins. The more veins covered, the faster the ores will be gathered. If you want to ignore grid snapping, try holding down the Shift key.
So the mining is the only thing that ignores grid snapping. Technically, to an extent, conveyors can do it, but most other buildings have to be on the grid. That's why the
One of your
latitude
production
part.
facilities is not powered. You need to keep it within the power coverage area and supply it with power facilities in order to maintain its normal works.
Okay, so I'll build some wind turbines. That's how we'll start things off. Yes, it starts pretty slow, but once you get the hang of it, it starts scaling up at uncomfortable speeds for me, as I'm pretty dumb. Just need enough for a couple wind turbines. So now we'll go over the map screen. So this is something I wish I knew more about early on. And I understood what it meant. So, wind energy ratio, these are not relevant on your starting moon or your starting planet, but they'll become relevant. And just something to notice. Wind energy ratio is 100 and solar energy is effectively 100 here. So that means when I go over here and I look at my fancy wind turbine, and it does look fancy, when it says 300 kilowatts, then it's going to make 300 kilowatts at all times. It's always windy. There's a constant amount of wind. It's very convenient. Solar power, not so much. It depends on the rotation of the planet and all that fancy stuff. But you can rely on wind. At least until you strip away the atmosphere with the Dyson vacuum or whatever joke Twitch chat likes to make every other day. Or was that Spaceballs? I'm not sure. But wind turbines, while they don't give you a lot of power, there's a reason they give you it to start. Yeah, just blow on the turbine a little bit, need more power. There you go, easy peasy. So I'm not going to worry too much about where I place it early, but you already at this stage want to think about, assume you're going to have spaghetti, but it doesn't matter that much, and we'll talk about that later. The summary is drones. This is not Factorio. You do not need to plan 400 times scale in advance. It is not as complicated on a planetary scale. Another thing to note is it's not Factorio. You're on a spherical planetary grid, and it looks fine here until you start seeing the grid.
When being outside of building range, you can hold down the shift key and use the right mouse button to click on the
I'm
open
working
space
on it.
to control the mecha to move.
I'm trying to help people. Stop helping me. So the first thing I'm going to do is look around and start building a few wind turbines where I don't have too many resources, because next to the resources there's going to be a lot of belts running. Over here by this fancy little lake, don't worry, we can get rid of that later. I'm going to build a couple turbines. They can only be a certain distance from each other.
Wind turbine. You have established your first power grid. Not all
I want
power
the tips still.
facilities has its power supply area. Use the Tesla tower to extend the area of the power grid.
So we've got some wind turbines. I've got a handcraft/mine a few Tesla towers here. It's another thing, like, my first instinct as a less than organized person was to just slap down as quickly as possible. It doesn't have the Factorio, like, drag out function, partially because of the spherical grid. Oh, another thing is once you get to a certain production scale, like, once you're getting enough iron bars or things like that, you can up to 10 the amount you're handcrafting. And when you look at the item, the amount of time it takes to build is your replicator, aka Icarus/Mecha/Bumblebee. That's how long it takes them to build, and that's what all your ratios are based off of, is the replicator. So
You have done building the first power transmission facility.
yes, I have.
Tesla Tower. It can carry out short-distance wireless power transmission and expand the power supply area of the power grid. Click on it to view the current power grid information.
Here's another thing, is the details display. You can have the power grid and other things on and off at any time. I usually turn the power grid thing off unless I'm having power issues, which is more than I'd like to admit, but less than all the time, hopefully. What else? Okay, the way you build is with your personnel drones. It becomes relevant to say which type of drones, because there's going to be a lot of drones. So you don't actually go over there and lay down the belt yourself. But you do have drones, like, you're the carrier, essentially. I'm a carrier, and I got my interceptor drones that are going to grab all the stuff out of my inventory. They're going to go slap it down. And it seems pretty slow. But yes, this scared me too. There are upgrades alongside almost everything that include the speed of the drones, the amount they're able to carry, and so on and so forth. But you gotta kind of manage where you physically, as Bumblebee, are located compared to where the drones can go, because if you're standing at the edge of their range, it's gonna take forever to build, especially things like large amounts of belts and stuff like that. So we're just gonna get this mining going. Get my blue mineral patches. Never seen those before. Okay. And to start, I can just grab them directly with a shift click. Oh, here's a few little tips. You want to sort your inventory? There's this button, or control click. It automatically sorts it. It usually sorts the most raw materials to most refined. So, like, you've got ore, you've got basic materials, you've got components, and then you've got buildings. It'll become pretty obvious how it sorts as you do more and more. So what else am I supposed to do here? Just sit here? Oh, I gotta research new technology. Because... So starting out, all your basic tech is just components. But you'll soon get science cubes. Science cubes work like the science juice in Factorio, or the... I forget what it is in Satisfactory, but stuff like that. I think it's just components in Satisfactory, but it's essentially just another thing you build and you put in a research lab, and then it does the science, and that's good. That's what we want. So, what are the first most important upgrades we're going for overall? A few things you don't need to start are fluid storage, plasma control. Also, most of this stuff that you can't get without basic science anyways. Click to view upgrade researches. Yes. Universe exploration level 1 could be useful, for sure. But I'm going to start out by getting belts and sorters, which double as inserters. They can have filter systems, and that's essentially how you put stuff in and take stuff out. You know what I mean? So we're going to make some of those. I could just go 5 at a time on each, as well as the chips. And that will allow belts to go to storage facilities. Storage facilities will store stuff for you. I know it sounds crazy, but it makes it a little easier to organize early on. But unlike in Factorio that I found, like I played 100 hours of this, finished the game. Factorio, didn't beat it. My brain hurts. Doesn't look beautiful. This game runs beautifully. It looks beautiful. And organizing basic you're not punished nearly as much for kind of going full spaghetti early. So I'm kind of trying not to do that, but once you figure out later on the basics, it's not so bad. Like, it is not nearly as bad as it was for me in Factorio. It's like, oh my god, what have I done? There will be solutions later. Though it is helpful to organize things early, it is not as headache-inducing if you don't.
The sorter and the conveyor belt, which can achieve full automation now. Use the conveyor belt to transport the piled-up ores from the mining machine, and the sorter can deliver the ores from the conveyor belt to the smelter for automatic smelting.
Well, there you go. You can now build a conveyor belt and a sorter. I'm actually going to lay down more mineral mining. There is no, like, building connection system. You do need to have the power radius reach the majority of a building in order for it to be powered, especially the sorters. I'm going to build myself a few storage facilities just so we can get that going. And then the smelters we'll talk about. I need chips and magnets, which can technically be made from the ore here. Mecha will make them for me, even if there are some multiple steps in the process. We're going to get a couple more miners, one for the stone, one for the coal. So that way I have power to do all this. As you see the power bar down here. And don't worry too much about mining machines early. Like, you can replace them. There is no dismantle cost. You can instantly dismantle and replace. Without losing materials. All you lose is time, essentially. So if I wanted to put 2 on stone and take it off coal, I could. I wouldn't want to, but I could. I'm going to start making 5 Tesla towers at a time real quick. And power management, like, you can look at the individual costs of things, but we'll bring up the statistics panel. Which is probably going to be fleshed out further, but it gives you the basics. There's not much here now. That will change. But you can see over the last 1 minute, 10 minutes. I usually flip between like a minute, 10 minutes, and an hour, depending on what you're looking for. Like, is there going to be an issue down the line? Stuff like that. And then, yes, this is going to become a very long list. Not just this planet, but still a while off. Don't even look at that. Alright, as for power, we got 1.2. Did that say megawatts? The miners don't take much, smelters don't take much power at all. You can easily use wind power for it. Which is, I'm sure, intentional. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take... Oh yeah, this is important to note.
Belt, all you need to do is determine the starting point and the end point of it. In addition, use the up arrow key to lift up one level, and use the down arrow key to drop down one level after the conveyor belt is lifted. Press keypad 0 to reset the construction height of the conveyor belt to the ground. If you don't want the conveyor belt to be attached to the building, you can try holding down the shift key.
Thank you. So instead of underground belts, you have above ground belts. And you can run them. For example, you can see, now this took me way too long, how high up they are by the amount of ticks, like the little dots, shows you how many levels up. And you can run belts over each other, under each other. That is not very necessary or very practical early, but it can be helpful before you get those beautiful, beautiful drones. Another thing to point out is every time you finish a tech, that includes like new building access or something like that, you get a small amount of it. Like, as I finish the belt tech, I got a few belts. Not a bunch, but enough to get me started and like kind of see how they work, which is pretty convenient. If your inventory is full, and now this was very painful for me. If your inventory is full when you finish the tech, it does not appear. It's gone. And you must just construct it the normal way. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but just that, yeah. Don't do that. I'm grabbing some stone to make a few storage boxes. I like to make 5 at a time, because rarely do you need only one. But that is something to point out here. Okay, make me my boxes. So, depending on how many you build at a time, Mecha will try to construct all the materials and then finish the end result, which is resulting in the construction time here. Oh yeah, give me some of that coal. I gotta go jam it in my face. Thank you. My drone's going to go out and place those belts. Now something to point out. You can stack storage boxes.
You built a storage, which can be used to store cargo.
I know.
You can manually store or use the sorter to automatically stock the cargo.
So what that means is you can either put in yourself, or you can use belts and sorters to place in. You can't run a belt directly into the storage, but you can use the sorter with potentially a filter to put whatever you want in the box. Another thing to point out, this is a tool I found to be useful, probably because I'm so disorganized. Say you want to like move a lot around manually without running a belt, which happens, especially earlier on. If you press Control-click, it moves your whole inventory. So, like, say I wanted, like, this box is full of iron. Imagine all this stuff is iron. Put it in another box, move it around, come back, get your inventory. So, Control-click, Control-click. And this is the very simplest setup for sorters, but
The sorter is a transportation connector of cargoes between facilities. It will automatically transport them as long as
AKA
the supply
inserter.
facility and the receiving facility are bridged.
AKA the real filter. Now, it doesn't have power. So, add a Tesla tower. Sorters take a very tiny amount of power, but it adds up. It's also important to note how many items per second. One more thing is the distance in grids the sorter is. Each one doubles or halves the amount that can be sorted per second. So one grid for the level 1 sorter is 1.5 trips a second, so it'll grab 1.5 items on average a second. If it was 2 grids away, it'd be 0.75. The speed of the belt, for reference, the Mark 1 belt, is 6 per second. So it'd be very difficult for me to have the sorter moving at the speed it needs to. So if I really wanted all that iron ore, which I'm not worried about the ore right now, because that's why we're getting the smelters soon, then what do? I can press the X key, go to delete, just move things around. Ta-da! Another tactic that you can use early on, we can apply it later more, but is if you want a buffer, like say you want to use the material for something, but maybe you don't have enough, or you have too much material and not enough production, you can add extra storage or something by having a sorter that goes out directly after. So this will put it back on the belt, unless the belt is full, in which case it goes in the box. But since the only thing you need ore directly for that I've found, well, stone and coal are the only ones you need ore directly. All other materials can go, well, iron and copper to start. Iron is the most important by far. It's copper is not on the same tier. I'm sorry, copper. But iron is S tier. Copper is a solid A tier, but it just doesn't have the quantity you need like other games. Other materials are going to come in pretty soon. Titanium, silicon, that are going to be kind of on the same level. First sorter isn't working? What do you mean first sorter isn't working? That looks like it's working to me. What am I looking at Twitch chat for during this? Oh my god. It's like, did you know it's actually a visual bug? The middle one is moving. The left one isn't. Yes. Thank you, Twitch chat, for explaining to me that everything is working exactly as I described 2 minutes ago. And why. That's why we do YouTube videos. Like and subscribe. And if you missed it, well, you can go back. I'm actually not going to bother with the stores. That was more of a demonstration because it's time for some smelters. But the only thing you're going to need ore directly for is coal, potentially to burn, and stone for other materials. But you're not going to need a lot of ore directly for either. I know stone ore sounds weird, but you got the idea. But all of it gets smelted into other materials. Let's, I don't know if they realize, if Mr. Tutorial Helper doesn't realize, I didn't actually get the smelter yet. So, maybe he should have helped me more. I need help. Let's put some more coal in my face. And it's important to note, as you upgrade in power sources, we'll see when we get there. Coal is the best just starting out, but you get better and better, and they last longer and longer, which is always important. We'll handcraft a round of magnets and 10 chips. It'll take 90 seconds. Pretty much, if the replicating queue, I better really want it if it takes over 3 minutes. Especially early on. Like right now, I literally can't automate because I do not have assemblers, nor do I have smelters. So I don't have the ability to automate this process. But quickly you get it, and after that point, if something's going to take more than 3 minutes to replicate, there better be a good reason, and the reason shouldn't be you planned very poorly, even though it usually is. Something to note with the miners. One, there's a limited amount of minerals you can mine. Unless, well, I did 1x. I did basic settings with the somewhat random seed, as you saw. You can technically run out of minerals, and if you have not yet achieved a level of tech that allows you to get access to other planets and other sources of raw materials, you're kind of just stuck. So, it's very, very, very difficult to pull that off, though. Like, the starting planet has enough to get you started, even with 1x resources, a few dozen times over. You'd have to put a lot of effort in avoiding it, so that's not a concern. Also, you can put multiple miners to cover all the veins, and you can cover some of the same ones. They'll mine out quicker, but a miner has a maximum rate of 180 per minute. Each mineral vein, as I say, it's 240. Maybe it's 240. It's somewhere around there. Each mineral vein, let's just make up some number. It's 6,900. No, it's not. But the maximum amount you can get from a mineral vein per minute is 36. Which means 36 times 50. So you have 50 minerals of mining on one belt. That's 1,800 per minute. Why is that relevant? Because that is the speed of the Mark III, the maximum speed belt. So 50 mineral veins on one maximum speed, much higher tech belt. Before that, it's not such a big deal, but when you're looking to min-max later on. Oh, now we're talking about smelters? Okay. But the mineral vein itself is part of the limiting factors. It's like SCVs in StarCraft. Since this game is more StarCraft than StarCraft. You might be like, Winter, that's a joke, right? Well, how many stars do you craft in StarCraft? Checkmate. Really, who's infringing on whose copyright? But there is a maximum amount of miners that can mine from the minerals, but they can overlap for increased income. So, just like in StarCraft, you'll mine out faster, and there's a maximum rate, but you can add more and still get more income. But it is better to find new mineral patches to mine from. So I've built some smelters here. I'll just set up the basic process, because the thing you're gonna need most, and now this is not gonna come as a surprise, it's iron bars. It's always iron bars. I'm gonna handcraft a few conveyors, which need a lot of iron bars. They take gears as well. Very important to note. Gears take iron bars. So each conveyor belt is actually just taking 3 iron bars, but with extra steps. Not too many extra steps. Like, I don't... So, where is our... Just starting out, it's a little harder to see which grid is which, because we're near to the equator as well. You can see on the grid system, we're at almost directly the equator. So this way is... There we go. Alright, so along the flatitude is where I'm gonna build my first couple smelters. I am used to my drones working faster after some upgrades. I will say, upgrades in this game, even the ones that are like, you move 20% faster, you can really feel it. Like right now it feels clunky. That will not continue. So there's a couple different styles. Something to note is some materials are 1-to-1. I'm sure most people know better than me. Like, I just kind of slapped down smelters originally until it worked. But some materials are 1-to-1. Most of your starter ones are 1-to-1, but the higher level are 2 ore to 1 bar or whatever basic resource. So just something to point out when you're thinking about it. What are you doing? We're making more belts. But we're also going to get... So, we got to think about the speed of the belt. Speed of the belt, 6 per second. I'm not mining 6 per second. Wait. 1 miner. You know what? I mean 2 mineral miners. I can't help it now. Wait, can I fit them all with 2? Nice. Oh, there you go. And you can just combine them onto the same belt. This might be 2 belts worth. Oh my god. For now. We will do. I'm already trying to min-max it. Stop. I'm just gonna get 6.
You built a smelter.
I
Which
know
can
what I
smelt
did.
Basic materials.
I know
such
what
as
it is.
Iron ingots and copper ingots automatically. While you want to make the raw materials and products get in and out of it autonomously, you need to use sorters and conveyor belts.
Thank you. I'm working on it. So helpful. Let me go get some more coal real quick while we're doing this. So, you have a certain range, a pickup range you'll get used to. It's a little confusing early on how that works, to be honest. Because some things have a longer range, and of course your drones are constructing stuff. But I am gonna make an iron bar recipe. I'm gonna press the recipe copy key, which is actually
After selecting the recipe, you can use the less than
oh,
key
thank
to
you.
copy the recipe.
All right, subscribe
and the
to his
greater than
channel.
Key to paste the next building that needs to set the same recipe.
You can also, now this becomes a lot more relevant later, but you can shift click a building and paste the building with the recipe already selected. Hopefully, in very soon patches, you'll be also able to copy paste the sorters that you're about to see run. That is probably my biggest complaint right now. And part of the reason we're here is because now imagine 100 times of what I'm about to do. And then imagine doing that 50 times over, because that's what I would need to do. But not about that. It's going to be a while till we get there. So this is what God mode allows you to do, aka free look. You notice how Bumblebee ain't moving? I can move the camera around, but I am still limited by the range of the drones. So it's something to note on that. I like to just go near the edge. The sorters have kind of an aim assist almost, where like you see my mouse is off to the side. It'll still go to the closest possible input. I recognize they do not have power right now. And then the output is on this side. If I could make a few more sorters. And this is why we're going to automate this as quick as possible.
You can now click the planet thumbnail button in the lower
That
left
sounds
corner
like a
of the
lot of
screen.
scary
or press
things.
the N key to try the planet view mode.
I need one more belt, please. There's always one more. And that's why we're gonna get pretty quickly to automating some of the basic buildings. The little things you're gonna build a lot of. You always need exactly one more than you have. And all your resources are on the other side of the planet / star system / galaxy. This is a rule. I don't think it's specific to this game. I don't know. Everyone knows that. So I'm building some. Well, while we're doing that, yeah, it's a
In the
moon.
planet view mode, you can hold down the middle mouse button drag, rotate the angle of view, and hold down the right mouse button, drag to roll the angle of view. Press N key to point to the front to the North Pole.
Yes. Get all that?
In
Good.
the planet view mode, slide the mouse wheel to enter the star map mode.
It's also the V key is a hotkey. So here we see the planet, where I am on the planet. Already getting a little... There you go. Orbiting Beta Serpentis, my beautiful gas giant. There's only there's one other star in the system. Beta Serpentis. Is it rotating, or is that a tidally locked lava planet? It's rotating. 300. Oh, you can actually see. Okay. It is rotating. That's unfortunate. And over here we have Beta Serpentis 2, which is a barren desert. So, just a real fun vacation spot. And then we have, of course, Beta Serpentis 3, which is an ice giant, which does bode well for some of the resources we might have later. And then a Mediterranean planet. How convenient. Or moon. For tidally locked, you still need rotation, just the right amount. You're correct. And also... So, when placing the Tesla towers on these... I probably should have thought about that beforehand. But... they do have the ability to reach over the top. It looks like we're going to have some power issues here. So we're going to need more and more and more. So here's how power works. When power dips lower, everything on the grid works proportionally slower. So right now everything's working at 40% speed, which is very sad. When power dips below about 10%, everything just shuts right off. But you have until that point to try to fix the situation. Or figure out how to revise the grid. And now here's something that I would have really liked earlier. How do you pick up stuff off a belt? Alright, I'll pick up one. Wait a second. You hold it down. And anything that comes by that section of the belt is now going into my inventory. This can also be used in the reverse direction. Say for some reason, press the escape key. I'm still holding on to these. It's a little clunkier to use. Can place it back in a similar way. Control click, sort it up. And then, let's build some more wind turbines. But wait, I need more copper. And now we're going to spend a little time making sure I'm maximizing my early resources. Now that we have all the little mechanics down, I need more power, which at this stage I can only get through wind turbines. I need to pick, to get away from the StarCrafting to basic assembling processes. Seems useful. In order to make, I do need magnets. This one always throws me off. While mostly you need iron bars, it's not actually iron bars that are used to make mag rings. You need directly iron ore, which is smelted into mag rings at a 1 to 1.5 ratio. And I always forget that. So that is something I found you need about, for the amount of iron bars, you need about 1/3 mag rings. Or magnets. But those go into the magnetic coils, which are much more like magnets, so I'm just going to build some wind turbines here and add them to the grid. I'm just building these because it's not like I can't build between this area. I can run belts through it. I probably wouldn't want to have any sort of automation there. But you can jam some solar panels or other stuff in there as well. Or storage. But it's a pretty big planet, so as planets have a tendency to be, early on you're not hurting too much for space as long as you plan a little bit ahead. So I was obviously hurting for space in my first playthrough, for completely unrelated reasons. We're gonna just finish off one more, and then in order to cancel, I can just right click. So the resources are grabbed from your inventory and put into the replicator, but when you cancel it, they put back in your inventory, unless it's full, in which case they get deleted forever. So I've heard. Part of the reason I'm so slow right now is one, a lack of upgrades, and two, a lack of power. So, give me some more coal. I should have put a storage box near the coal. You can use clicking or hotkeys. Since it's not customizable yet, it's usually easier to just click most things that aren't at the start of the bar. Just slap a couple sorters in there. This is a very temporary situation anyways, so. I'm going to build the components for the basic assemblers. Oh yeah, I probably should have some iron bar storage near the end here. If only for finishing my sentence. A buffer for using for... well, also you almost always want to have a box of iron bars. I found early on. There's almost no avoiding that. Like, at some point, you're going to need something you haven't automated yet. Having iron and copper bars automated to an extent is incredibly helpful. Just going to grab some off the belt for now. Build 3 more sorters here. Not replicators. We'll get there. Assembler Mark 1. So here are the basic benchmarks I've found. Once again, remember, I'm not an expert. I'd put myself at a solid platinum league, and there is no platinum here, but this is just me trying to remedy some of the mistakes that I made that are easily avoided. I'm sure there are better ways to do things, but these are already better than the first way I did things, so hopefully it helps some people. Gonna jam some coal in my face. And now we got assemblers, which there's gonna be a lot. But pretty soon I'm gonna need science cubes. I'm just gonna get the basics for everything that doesn't need science cubes, and that is, well, does anything not need science cubes? Here you got copper bars are the only thing I need for these. So I'm gonna get Mecha Core, which is just max energy, which is when I jam coal in my face, I can get more of it. Past a point in the very near future, I should never need to craft bars again, is the ideal. But let's make another mineral miner. Give me some of that. So what throws me off a little, and I hope to once in the next patch. Like this is like 2 weeks in early access. This might be invalidated, mostly, and well, not mostly, but sooner rather than later. So in order to close like all the in-game menus here, you press escape. But if you press escape too many times, well, hello. So I'm going to get another miner here. I'm going to pick up 100 iron bars. You can limit the amount in the box, one, by not adding more boxes. But if you want to limit it to less than the amount of stacks, it's 10 wide on these Mark 1 boxes. So it holds up to, well, it depends on the stack size. Different items. Most material items have a stack size of 100. Some, like belts, have 200. Many buildings and other components are up to 50. So that does depend. So this means it's holding on to 3,000 iron bars potentially. But this actually just limits the, like, you can see there. Make me one more mineral miner. Why can you not do it? Oh, I need iron ore because of the magnets. And I'm already forgetting. We're gonna make a few more belts. And this is so we can get some copper bars started as well. Can I grab the rest of those minerals? There you go. Oh, you can see here I actually have the power on. Power is as more sorters and miners and stuff get going. We're gonna want 6 more smelters. I have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gonna take a minute here, but I'm gonna have a line of smelters. Oh yeah, let me start up my next tech. I think we have gotten everything now that you can get before getting science cubes. So now technically I have names like electromagnetic matrices or other names that I don't know because that's a blue science cube and nobody will tell me differently. Where do I want to run this line? I'm going to go up towards the equator there. Gonna get a few more belts as well. I see that's not powered. We're gonna need a few more wind turbines. And then the next step is going to be automating. I'll go over some of the stuff that you want to automate as much of as possible and stuff that you're not going to need 100 of, but you might need 15. Like, we'll go over that in just a minute. So first off, make a few more wind turbines here, which this should be the last time we need to do that. So you got to be a little careful, especially before you, spoilers, unlock flight. Icarus, for some, it happens more when Icarus is slower. Gets stuck on things. Not the smartest cookie. So you gotta be a little careful if you're working off screen or a little off screen that he doesn't get confused. And it's okay. Everyone gets confused sometimes, but but Icarus has a tendency, especially the larger the buildings are in the way. Can have a tough time. Yeah, you can see the power dipping. It's very stressful when you're nearing like max power. It's a lot less stressful when you just don't have enough power because it doesn't do that. It doesn't flicker like that. I'm much more stressed. Okay, so I made a mistake. I make a lot. I tried to sort my inventory with control click, which doubles as the transfer button. So I now have plenty of coal. I'm going to sort my inventory, press escape. And now I'm going to control click. And that moved all the coal. Now here's another tip. If you control right click, you just get half. Or from your inventory, one stack, you can right click. Oh, it's the other storage boxes you do this with. So if you hold control and then hold right click, you have a moving slider of all the potential items. So I want to transfer most of these over there. I'll keep a few stacks for power, but there you go. Control click to sort that. There you go. It may work. No, if you just hold right click, it only works on the stack you're currently holding. Control click selects all of a type. That's the difference there. Might as well place all my wind turbines. I didn't have that many. I'm gonna turn off the power grid because it stresses me out even when I have full power. I really forgot how slow he is to start. You get upgrades for movement speed, and once we get this going, you will see. It really... At first, when I started out, I'm like, wow. For a space simulator, this seems pretty clunky. Well, give it a little time and a little effort, and we'll see if we can fix that. I will add the smelters. So here's something that can be scaled up. This is something I learned way too late.
You have a building without recipe set.
I know it has no
Please set the
recipe. We already
recipe
figured this out.
After selecting the recipe, you can use the less
I
than
tested
key
it.
to
He
copy
only
the
says
recipe,
that like
and the
once every
greater
10
than
minutes.
key to
Yes.
paste the next building that needs
I was
to
like,
set
is he
the
going to
same
say that
recipe.
every time I spend more than 3 seconds not setting that? There's like a cooldown. So here's what you do. There's like a sticky construction assist. It's hard to kind of describe it. I'll just show you it. So what happens is the game tries to learn from your actions. It's like a light copy paste. So I'm placing this here. It just moves it. I think it only works in God mode, but I'm not sure. But I'm placing the third one here. I didn't move the mouse. This is very useful for setting up lines of smelters, lines of assemblers. Like, it just takes the distance and moves it that distance. Like, it's not learning. Well, it is learning. That's what learning is. Like, it's not learning very much. I'll say that. Like, it's not that complicated, but if you just kind of let it do that, you don't have to move your mouse, and it makes evenly spaced stuff. Is it a check mark in settings? Oh. Automatically move building target. Yeah, when I checked that, I'm like, I don't know, that sounds good. And like many things, it's not super clear what that means. But that's what that means. I could run the belt the other way. It doesn't really matter which way the output belt goes. But I'm just going to spread out a little. Make things a little easier. Oh yeah, let me pick up some iron bars. I gotta move a little closer. And yes, when you have always on research queue, it will continually remind you, you haven't built your magnets yet. Give me a moment. So here, I like to put the Tesla towers every 2 grids. If you put them, so they have a radius, as most circles do. Every 2 grids allows you to cover usually up to 2 lines of belts on either side of most things. So you don't have to have towers on each side. As things get more complicated, you get higher level power transmission. And also, more complicated sets of belts and all that. So, now we get the sorters, of which I'm gonna need. Well, I mean, I can do math. Barely. 12. Oh no, the power. Stop showing me the power every time I want to do something. I'm doing my best. Well, it's not good enough. We need more power. So we're already, I think, about to see another. Are those within the grid? There you go. Give me some of those. But now that I have all these items, making wind turbines is a little easier. One step at a time. So, when you power up, like, having a full fuel tank maximizes your power charging. Not that me powering has anything to do with this. You can't transfer Mecha's power into, or Icarus or Bumblebee, into the power grid, except by constructing more power, like wind turbines. So you can't just like hold out your hand. There you go. A few extra steps. Of lack of item, okay. And thus, we're getting to the assembly. I've definitely, like, once you get the hang of it, I probably could have set all this up even more quickly, obviously, but we're trying to make sure. Because I kind of skipped over some things early without realizing what all of it did. Because that's how I do. Don't judge me. Well, I can subscribe. But hopefully this helps with some of that. Alright, we're at 6 megawatts. We're gonna want magnet smelters. What are the first thing? Well, we wanna just finish up this research real quick. Gears. So everything on this screen that I have access to right now, you want as many as possible. The one thing, okay. The one thing you don't necessarily need a ton of, stone bricks. Stone bricks are used for stuff you're not spamming all over the place besides foundations, which allow you to terraform the planet. And by terraform, I mean make everything a paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Essentially, that's it. You zero it out because you can only build buildings on flat ground, essentially. That means get rid of all the water and the trees and all that other boring stuff. Glass, on the other hand, is something that you're going to need a lot of. Gears, you're going to need a lot of. Magnets, a ton. Chips, so many. Like, So with that, I am going to set up another row of smelters. Wait, why did I not? Oh, because that's not how you make magnets, Winter. You must actually make the magnets. Genius, man. Not the gears. Just because you're talking about gears doesn't mean... Okay. And that'll finish the research. The thing is, until we get the assembler started, can't really make use of those science cubes unless I want to handcraft them like a goddamn barbarian. So. And look at me. Do I look like a barbarian? Or do I look like the only Transformer with a real personality? Take your pick. Probably should scale up the belt production to more than... There you go. Alright, tell me all about it. There's no tutorial prompt for science cubes. Okay. Alright then. So, you can now build matrix labs, which are for science. I'll tell you right now that we don't need it yet. I'm gonna build one. I'm gonna place one just to get the whatever he tells me so I don't repeat it.
Matrix Lab. You can use it to make super matrices or research technologies that require them to unlock. The super matrices are the source code of the center brain for maintaining the whole world. You can upload as many super matrices to the center brain as possible. You can be benefit to unlock more actual world technologies by operating the home world simultaneously.
Yeah, so most of that doesn't make any sense. What he means by that is essentially these are either cube assemblers or research labs. You can stack them on each other pretty high, so it becomes like a mega assembler. But for science cubes, so you treat it just like another assembler, which we're going to start now. You input the materials, and it spits out science cubes, and then that goes to one of the fancy labs, and it eats the science cubes, and it spits out the science. And then you get good things, and that's what he meant to say. So we're going to work towards that. I'm gonna get... Oh my god, always with the magnets. Give me my bars. Why don't I just grab them? Like, what is my inventory even for? Grabbing hundreds of bars. Not gonna fill it all up. So, even before all of this, though, I'm gonna get the next level. Let me see. Improved logistics systems is a high priority that allows you to get splitters, allows you to get sorters. But it's not the first priority. Then you have steel production, which you don't really need that early. That's not like the first thing I'm going to go for. Smelting purification allows you to get silicon, enhanced graphite. Thing is, there's probably not going to be any silicon on your starting planet. More on that later. Thermal power. It's going to be very important. You burn beautiful, beautiful, dirty coal. Or what it smelts into, which is graphite, which you can also burn, and I'm sure the natives love it. Then you got fluid storage encapsulation, which is the fanciest way of saying water tanks and other sorts of tanks. You got high efficiency plasma control, which is power towers. So these are towers with essentially pylons. These are pylons. They transfer power a long distance, but they don't actually power individual buildings, and that's important to note. So you can get around, like you can transfer things to the grid, but you're going to need Tesla towers in order to power your buildings. And then electromagnetic drive unlocks engines, which doesn't do anything for you now, but that's one of those things you're always going to need more of. So, what is my priority? My priority is going to be thermal power, which is made with basic resources. I'm going to burn some coal, because burning coal, or whatever else, but mostly coal, is the simplest way to get a lot of power early. We scale up later, but building all these individual wind turbines, like, taking up so much space and effort, just burn some coal. It goes up to 2.16 megawatts, and you can kind of chain them together. It's relatively easy to get a bunch of early. But we got to get that research done first, so we're going to get all the assembler set up. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make this like an hour-long thing, a 2-hour-long thing, but that will wrap out the first hour here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get basic assemblers, and I'm going to start the research lab. I'm going to start that producing. We're going to get there, so I'm going to kind of speed this along a little bit. And then that'll be the first episode of maybe Winter does an educational series on a game that's actually about crafting stars. Or maybe it will be a one-off thing and I stop forever. We'll find out. Goddamn magnets. Okay. This is what we are working towards automating right now. I've got 5 smelters. I'm gonna put it not too close, but not too far. A couple grids over is usually enough that, like, it doesn't get in the way early on, but also it's not in the middle of nowhere. Also, the grids are dependent on how close you are to the equator, of course, but you usually start off. These drones really need to work harder, but I'm actually just going to line it up with these for convenience's sake. I'm going to use that same recipe system as well. We're going to make the mag rings, the magnets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Winter, did you just put the output on the other side? Yes? Yes, I did. Which is too inconvenient for me. I've learned, so it's essentially measure twice, cut once. Right now, there aren't the quality of life updates. You have to individually demolish things. Yes. I do hope, and hopefully by the time, if this is on YouTube, you watch this, that is no longer the case. But that means, do it right the first time, or it'll be twice the effort to get rid of it later on. So, instead of working around what I just did, I'm just gonna get rid of it and restart. Like, I'll put the belt on the outside, so there's more space, because I plan on constructing things along these lines here. I hope the quality of life for me remedying my mistakes that I am inevitably going to be making from a severe lack of planning is soon added, though. And I believe that is the plan. So when we're doing lines like this, I like that you can just have the Tesla towers like on the inside. That's part of why 2 grids away, because here you still got space to put the towers, but you can have the outputs as well. Throw the sorters in. Build more sorters. And this is why we automate things. You always need one more. I need another storage box. Also, what I like to do once I get things started, you'll see a little later on. This is more of a once everything's starting deal, is just always have my replicator running Like, with whatever I haven't yet automated, I try to have it running because of the raw materials I have in my inventory. With Tesla towers or sorters or whatever, I found that to be a good habit to get into. Just to make your life a little easier. Kind of like making sure to drop your mules while building more SCVs. Alright, so now we have copper bars. There is no other basic copper component. There is no equivalent of the magnet for iron for copper. That's another reason copper is not as critical as iron, is because iron is kind of split into two major things. Mostly like 2/3 iron bars, 1/3 magnets, and copper is just copper bars. So, what is the first thing I want? What am I gonna want the most of? Probably conveyor belts. Early on, of course, you need a lot of conveyor belts. So first things first, we're going to take this line of iron. I need more conveyor belts. How appropriate. And while we're building this, make sure I get some wind turbines. I like to give at least a grid of space. One, so I can tell where everything's going. And two, at least give options for expanding later. I might need way more smelters later or something like that. But with splitters and being able to raise up and down. But for now, we're not going to be doing that. I'm just going to keep it on the ground. You have to use the arrow keys and the numpad 0 key, which back in the day I had a 10 keyless keyboard, one that didn't have all those fancy keys you think were reserved for people who were online receptionists, but actually I found more and more options for them. I no longer use a 10 key list just because there's a lot of things you can put on the numpad when you have customizable hotkeys. Okay, so we're going to do a basic assembly setup here. Once again, I'm going to be almost religiously, anything that requires multiple lines goes along the longitude, or the latitude, latitude. There you go. I can't believe that's how I'm remembering it now. But we'll now make a couple assemblers. So the way assemblers work is exactly how you'd think. What we're going to do, set a recipe. I want you to make me gears. And now, assuming we need more than 2, I want you to output gears. All right. Okay. Everybody agreed? We're good? So the Mark 1 assemblers, which we're going to want to upgrade pretty early, work at 75% speed. So when you and your replicator want to make a gear, it takes an iron bar, takes a second, boom, gear. That means these take whatever, is that 1.25? It's not difficult math. I hope it's not difficult math. It should take 1.25 seconds. Mark II assemblers are 1-to-1. And Mark II assemblers are perfectly acceptable. I found like the basic benchmarks are Mark III belts you want to get to as soon as possible. It's going to be a while, but Mark II assemblers are fine. Mark III assemblers are not a huge increase. Mark II assemblers are 1-to-1. And honestly, if you don't have the speed of the belts anyways, the assemblers doesn't really matter, so because usually you're hurting more for materials than you are for assembly speed. Especially if you're doing it right. So let's add on some power here. And ta-da! Making me some gears. I am going to add a... So here's what I like to do. When I know... I don't know if there's... I bet there's a better... There's almost certainly a way better system for this. But when I know it's an item that I want to make more of, and I'm going to automate for so many different reasons, but I'm not there yet, I like to jam a belt where the assemblers will go. Like, so there will be more gear assemblers here, but I don't need that many yet. So I'm just going to put a box there, because I can just throw these into my inventory and help things along. But for now, there's a box. And don't be afraid of deleting from your inventory. Like, you don't want to delete buildings that you've already built. And you don't want to delete hundreds of bars. But do not be afraid of deleting 100 gears. I have been deathly afraid. I've made that mistake. Like, even right now, I'm making 70, 69, whatever nice amount of gears a minute off of just 2 assemblers. And that means you'd have enough to fill up your inventory in just a couple minutes of just gears. Like, a few minutes, but... So you can get a lot, like, the priority is making sure everything's running smoothly, though I don't need to tell most of the people who would play games like this that. I need to... That's mostly talking to myself. Like, do not handcraft gears anymore. Oh my god. And also, you need more I know! We're getting there. Speaking of, in order to get blue science, we need magnets and circuit boards. So, circuit boards require 2 iron bars and 1. I was going to automate belt, just real quick. So here's part of the beauty of this belt setup, and this becomes more and more intuitive, is we're going to add a little of that. We're gonna slap another assembler down, just 1. And now, I need to, don't be afraid to move it later. Remember, measure twice, count once. Do not work around your previous mistakes if you think they're mistakes. I've made those mistakes. And like, let's say, oh, okay, we're good. I want to make conveyor belts. Laudable goal. Need some gears. I mean, I could keep them in the box, or I could add another sorter. I could filter, like if I had more stuff in the box, I could filter out gears. I'm making gears. I'm good. I'll keep the box around for now. But now, drama, excitement. But there's already a belt here. Well, we did it. But here's the thing. That sorter, it's only going to work at 0.75 a second. So 75%. This assembler, when you make a conveyor belt, you're making 3 every second. This assembler every 1.25 seconds. So I'm actually going to be limited by sorters here until I get an upgrade. 2 belts. This sorter is wrong. Oh my god. Disliked. Unsubscribed. Subscribe again to Tutorial Dude. He would have known. And now we're making belts. I can, those are definitely one in the box. Until later on you need them for upgraded belts. That's a genius tip I hadn't thought of. Alright, shout out to Blast 'em to Hell, by the way. That I did not realize, and that's going to be very helpful for me. Apparently, because technically sorters can go off the sides, which I rarely use. And there you go. If I ever need more than a box or 2, of conveyors, well then, especially of Mark 1, you knew this but did not think of it. I guess I'll take that. Whatever that means. Sure. Okay. So far, we do not yet have splitters. And that's about to become relevant. But I said we're going for green science. The first thing we're going to need is to get magnets, which you're going to need so many magnets. But that means I need to bring the copper bars and I need to bring the mag rings. So the simple version here is I'm gonna go up one level, gonna drag it past one grid on each side. That's not one grid on each side. So another convenient thing is you can just click on the start and click on the end. Though it is a little finicky. Eventually they'll get it down. So this is kind of a placeholder potentially for splitters. That's not one grid down. Things can get out of hand quickly. But very early on, you get the splitter research. You'll see very soon here. But I'm gonna bring the copper bars over to a belt alongside. The drones having a bit of a struggle. So you kind of got to think about, and mathematicians, aka most people, would know better than me, but about what you're building with the assembler. Like, does it matter if the belt, if the sorters are going to be further away? So here, when I'm making magnets, it takes two magnets, to make the magnetic coil. So I'm just going to put the assemblers on the side. And now this is just, as a matter of principle, the sorter should work quickly enough. But I'm going to put the assemblers closer to the line. And now if you really need to have maximum speed, you can put them on both sides. But if you notice with the magnetic coils, it creates 2 magnets per second. So it's actually adding even more, equal with the mag rings. And it's adding even more than the copper bars. So the output is at least as great as the input there. And I feel like people will take me at face value. I feel so unqualified to speak of things like inputs and outputs and mathematical anything. But here we are. So, just generally anything with math at all related. But all right. We're just gonna make 2 for now. Gonna get the Tesla coils down here. I need more belts, which does mean we have to walk over there, but I should never need belts again. Power up. I've still got a ton of... And this is when you start... one of the upgrades is one of the cheap upgrades. You just keep upgrading your inventory space. This is a fraction. Don't worry. I was worried. Let's make mag coils. And you can see... I'm never going to be able to not call them magnets. So, there's mag rings, and then there's magnets. because mag rings don't sound like a thing, because they don't do anything on their own. Magnets do something on their own. So therefore, I'm arguing with what is probably just heavily translated. But I'm going to argue. Yes, I did go to engineering school, which gave me a great experience in learning why I shouldn't have gone to engineering school. But now we're here. So and then I went to business school, which gave me all the experience I needed to realize why I didn't need business school. Yada, yada, yada. Now we're here. So we finished up. We're probably going to want some of these. I'm going to put them in a box. I'm going to split them between the box and that, because sometimes you just need the magnets. Oh my god, I'm flying now. Spoilers, I didn't realize you could just try to walk over water, and it would activate flight mode before you technically have flight mode. Exploiting the game. Anyways. One more thing is 2 iron bars and 1 copper bar. Which is... We're gonna take the most tedious route. This is something I will certainly delete/split later, but this is just to get to that point. Is why we're doing it. And that can go under the magnets. Drones are really struggling to get things going. You gotta make sure you factor in that your drones have very short attention spans, and also they are quite slow to start, once again. I could be building from the replicator at this stage as well. Things that I haven't automated yet. We got boxes. We got wind turbines. We got look at the beautiful stars. We got look at the sunset. Look at the sunset. How many? That's the... I haven't seen the sun in years. I still haven't. So why is this poor planning? Because guess what? The Tesla Tower's now going on the other side. We could have figured this out earlier, but here we are. Because we need iron bars and copper bars to make circuits. Or green chips. Oh my god. I almost got stuck. I don't think you can actually get stuck, which is kind of the point, but... we're gonna get... So... essentially, when you queue up a building, you can see over there. Oh my god, that's why there's only 1 drone. Well, good job, team. Oh no, there's still some over there we didn't finish. You gotta give them time to complete their tasks, okay? The drones need special help. early on. They get a lot better. Every upgrade. Honestly, I don't remember having any issues with the drones in my first playthrough, and that's probably because I was very bad. And I had no idea what I was doing. But here we are. I always had the drones near me because I was trying to figure out what was 4 feet in front of me. And there you go. So now we have circuits. In order to make the green science, we need magnets and we need circuits. How convenient. Not convenient. We worked for this. Don't belittle my work. Same deal. We'll bring it over the top. We're going to line it up with the circuit output belt. And then, so now this is something I keep forgetting all the time. But in order to make science cubes, it's not assemblers. The research lab, the matrix lab, is your assembler. So, in order to, I'm just going to put them, you get really addicted to the grid, partially because you can only build on it, but where you place on the grid. From what I understand, each grid, and now this would make sense close to the poles, is approximately 1 degree of the planet. So, when you walk over each one, that is planets, all but that one, of course, have 360 degrees. Up, down, around, whatever. Whoever decided on that, I don't know. But they do. You can technically, this will become more relevant later. Like most things, you can wrap it all the way around. Let's produce those fancy cubes. Maybe we should power the lab? I don't know. Sounds ridiculous. And then I need glass to produce another matrix lab. A glass comes from stone ore, which is over here on that mining system thingy. And yes, it's going to become relevant, but no, don't make those. Stop. Wrong. It's over here. You can stack the matrix. You cannot stack assemblers, and that increases. You can input them all, and it feeds them up. I think the ones towards the bottom eat it first, but it doesn't really matter. First off, though, we're just gonna... Well, technically, I am now realizing, and now this is not necessarily going to be as applicable later. I could apply the same system. See, I don't know all these things. The geniuses, who are pretty much anyone else, do some research. And, very importantly, now this is something to factor in, they look amazing. Alright, the science cubes, gorgeous. Alright, now never has science looked so good. I use them for decoration, since there is actually no easy labeling system. This becomes more and more apparent. There is no way to mark what parts of the planet or what planets. As of yet, You can technically rename some things, but not planets. At least officially, though I give them unofficial names, of course. Pet names, if you would. But when I've gotten into the system of marking certain things with designs of science cubes. I'm just throwing that one out there. So, we've automated your basics. You got your iron, your copper. We've realized that humanity is now virtual and essentially just wants to run their own fancy Minecraft server, but they don't have enough energy for ray tracing, so Factorio dude, after his experience past the black hole, after launching off the Factorio place, has to solve all their problems for them so that they can continue to have sick Minecraft builds, bro. So, what I'm trying to say is thank you for watching my StarCraft Minecraft video. I hope this gets you the very basics of Dyson Sphere Program. I hope it was easy enough to follow, and I hope you do, or at least you learn better than me and see all the ways I could do it better. So like and subscribe and all that, and I think, well, hopefully we'll have more. I know a lot of people are making things like this, but hopefully you like my take on it. So be ready to scale up, but also a few things to take away at the very start. Don't worry too much about spaghetti early. There are ways to fix it, and most of them rely on planetary logistics. So that is a high priority going forward. While solar power is fun and solar sails are great, there's not too much that compares to burning stuff or splitting atoms. And you will go, and also don't fly into space with no power. I shouldn't have to say that, but few people have said they did it. Don't just fly off into space. Space is very large. Don't do that. So, I mean, I guess if you want, but pro tip. So until next time, continue crafting, because you're the star. Good luck, and have fun.